William Wellman came to Kane County to shoot Buffalo Bill, he was so impressed by the people of Kanab and their readiness to appear as stuntmen and extras in his film that he called Kanab a little Hollywood all its own, and the name is stuck. Kane County has been a busy motion picture production area since the 1920s. Several factors initially brought the area to Hollywood's attention. In the early part of the last century, cowboy movies enjoyed tremendous popularity. During this period, the studios were constantly searching for interesting settings to use in their movies. Hundreds of productions have been shot here, and many TV shows too, like Gunsmoke, The Lone Ranger, and Have Gun, Will Travel. Several of Hollywood's greatest stars have worked in this region as well, including Alan Ladd, Rory Calhoun, John Wayne, and Clint Eastwood, who came here to Kane County in 1975 to make The Outlaw Josie Wales. The region's natural beauty has always been its biggest draw.
Filmmakers have an insatiable appetite for new visual stimulus, so they had run out of that in Hollywood, so they start moving east. And they are looking for more and more and more. And they come upon southern Utah, which is a huge backlot, crammed into a very small area.
About this same time, in the early 1920s, Chauncey Perry from Cedar City, who with his brothers had the transportation concession in the national parks at Zion National Park, were taking a greater interest in publicizing this wonderful area.
Chance became a real champion for filming in southern Utah. In fact, he took his own personal biplane, which he had purchased, and flew around the area, taking photographs with the best camera that money could buy.
And he got all these aerial shots, and he put it together in a brochure and took it to Hollywood and took it to the producers and the studios. And what they did is he marketed this place, and he could give them entertainment, food, wranglers, whatever they needed.
Well, apparently he sold the idea to Fox Film Corporation and its biggest Western star, Tom Mix. That brought them to the base of operations in Cedar City to film Deadwood Coach. And after Deadwood Coach in 1924, other motion picture companies, admittedly independent film companies, came.
The Perrys bought an old farmhouse in downtown Kanab, which they converted into a residential inn. The Perrys Lodge was operated by Chauncey's brother, Whit.
They make that into a tourist lodge, and it soon becomes the headquarters for motion picture companies coming to film in the area. So the establishment of the Perry Lodge in 1931, I think, is something like a magnet, which helps congregate film companies around the lodge, the excellent food provided by Whit Perry, which is legend among film crews in Hollywood at the time. So you see more films being shot in the area. Again, still in the 1930s, these are B film companies that come to make movies, such as Lure of the Wasteland, The Fargo Kid, Roll of Wagons Roll with Tex Ritter. Then you get Columbia making 2 chapter plays or serials, Overland with Kit Carson and The Great Adventures of Wild Bill Hickok. However, there is one very big studio film that comes in, the Zion National Park, and in Johnson Canyon in 1936, with top-tiered stars like Wallace Beery and Dennis O'Keefe. And that's Bad Man of Brimstone, and that's MGM. That must also have been the result of the Perry brothers' wooing of Hollywood companies to come out.
And once MGM came, then all of the other major studios began to recognize Kanab as an area to come and film. And it seems like it began to really take off nicely after that.
Locals were often hired as extras and stuntmen.
One day they stripped us down and painted us up like Indians and put war paint on us and all that. And we rode bareback across the front of the fort up in Strawberry Valley. $18 a day, and that was pretty good money back then. That's, you know, so You took your days off from work and made a few bucks. Helped feed the kids. And kept the kids from eating the putty out of the windows.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Little Hollywood Movie Museum. This is a free, non-profit museum that is dedicated to preserving the movie sets from the Kanab area's Little Hollywood glory days when hundreds of westerns were shot here. We also focus on ongoing film production and continuing education. Mostly what we have are movie sets. We start with this one right here, which is the backdrop for a Kenny Loggins music video special shot in the North Rim of the Grand Canyon. Hollywood and music tends to be wasteful in the way they produce stuff, but they're not as wasteful as you might think because they make things in a minimal fashion. This is put together with 1x4s, not 2x4s. It's stapled together. It's not really meant to stand any longer than a couple of weeks. We cobble it together and keep it going, so it's been up since 1991 when it was shot. You notice you can walk on in, so you can get a good sense of how things were constructed. Just a couple of braces here to keep it standing up rather than a real frame that holds it up. If we move on, we're going to find these really substantial adobe buildings. Now these buildings are all from the Outlaw Josie Wales. This is where the Outlaw Josie Wales finally finds his home. This is where they have a really huge gun battle, and as is common throughout that movie, they kill lots of people. One of the things that's most interesting about these sets is that they appear to be adobe. They're fiberglass. This whole thing probably only weighs about 300 pounds. So this is the house that served as the centerpiece of the climax of the Outlaw Josie Wales. It's one that was used both interiors and exteriors. Even the interior is done out of fiberglass. I actually intentionally leave some of the paint peeling so that you can see that the interior walls are fiberglass. Over here we have a homestead set from a Disney movie called One Little Indian. This was also shot up at Best Friends, and the barn that was part of this set is still up at Best Friends and being used as a horse barn. Not available for the public to go look at or tour or anything, but it's there and it's still a set. It's in the same little meadow. This I call my vagabond windmill, and I call it a vagabond windmill because it gets used in different movies in lots of different places. Probably the most famous person to use this is Kiefer Sutherland, who used it for Truth or Consequences, New Mexico. It was most recently used for The Attic Door, which was a student film partially financed through Kane County tax dollars as an incentive to get people to come to the area. The set right next to it over here was the main house from The Attic Door. It's an interesting approach to building a set. It was built here in a warehouse in Kanab, bolted together in sections, transported by truck out to the Paria, and set up right in the middle of a huge floodplain. Used for the movie shoot, then dismantled by some friends and I, and brought back here where we reassembled it, all without any damage because it's done with nuts and bolts. It's meant to be taken down, put back together, and reused wherever you need it to be in the film. The other cool thing about this is that you can see it's one-story construction, but in the movie it was a two-story house. So the second story was all just part of a CG game. And moving around to this part of the facility, we have a really heavy-duty stone building that was used as a gatehouse for a couple of different movies, but most prominently for the Michael Cimino remake of Desperate Hours that starred Mickey Rourke. They went to all the trouble of building this building out of styrofoam when they were already at Zion National Park filming. And that, I think, concludes our tour. It's a VIP tour, even if it's short.